you all having a good weekend and so on. So basically, what this particular rune reading is telling us, it's basically giving us the perspective of basically who the karmic in our life may actually be. So it's somebody that is starting to reveal themselves to us, either in the sense of somebody very close to us. It could be a spouse, boyfriend, girlfriend. It could be a very close friend. It could be, again, a sibling or a family member as well. It doesn't specify to that degree, but it does tell us that basically whoever it is, it's starting to be revealed to the collective in general. So it gives both advice to the collective, and it starts to reveal how some of these things are coming forward in terms of, the karmic, if you will, situation. I mean, what's going on in their life and how it's, being revealed slowly. Okay, so the overall energy for and the final day, hopefully, basically is Gibo in the reverse. Remember, this is the overall energy up till today. So the close of business this evening, 12 a.m. That basically starts the new day, at least figuratively speaking. And hopefully we'll have a whole new energy, that we're looking at for the following week. But Gibo in the reverse talks about, again, problems with the roots of an personal nature or manner. Something that's going on that is very personal, very private. In a lot of ways, again, this could be talking to both the karmic and for the collective, depending. Because if it's somebody close to us, we're obviously going to be feeling this too. So what is the reason behind this? What is causing this conflict? Why are they doing or saying and acting in the way that they are? Well, let me tell you what I'm seeing, okay, and what I have seen nonstop since we started doing this a couple of months back, and from my own personal experience as well, is that you cannot blame yourself, okay? From what I can see, you've done everything right, and basically because you are typically an empathetic soul, some people who are less mature, spiritually speaking, and probably emotionally speaking, I would say, are looking at that as a weakness. And it's just simply that, that easy, that simple. And because they're not in a higher state of vibration or resonance, they are doing some very karmic-y or low vibrational things and thinking that you were a pushover, somebody that could be easily manipulated. So that's the way it ends up going. And I'm not saying that so you to be angry with this person or people, so that you can understand better that you're just at a different part in your journey. You're at a higher or further along state in your spiritual journey than they are. So they're making very bad decisions. And unfortunately, you're caught in a crossfire, or at least it seems unfortunate at first. And believe me, I know I feel those things too when they're happening. I'm saying, why? I mean, I thought I did everything that I could. And that's true. But it doesn't take from the, it's just a way of life, that we can expect that sometimes things happen in our lives, not to us, but for our edification. I know if you spend any time in this spiritual journey at all, then you've probably heard that before. And it is true to a greater or lesser degree, depending. But we have to experience certain things. And again, just like scar tissue that builds up after a wound has been opened up, it becomes much harder to damage that exact area again because the scar tissue is tougher and so on and so forth. Same thing spiritually. The more that we've endured, and when we go through this journey and we're trying to evolve, and I bring to your attention, of course, every spiritual leader has ever existed. They've all gone through a tremendous amount of conflict and turmoil and everything else. So from Jesus, the Buddha, Krishna, Rama, Odin himself, regardless of which particular belief system that you look at or focus on, we see these same things. So we all end up going through this. It's a way of toughening us up, proving beyond a doubt that we're sincere about this journey and we're trying to do whatever it takes to get there. It's a form of becoming a living sacrifice, so to speak, as spoken of within the realms of Christendom. And I use Christianity more than any other religion because I can, in many cases, even recite passages still. I try not to because I look at things from a more universal perspective today, even though I do love Christ. I do love the notion of Christ consciousness and walking in his footsteps and, using his example, in many ways and how we address one another, And of course, the golden rule, as I've already stated, is found literally in every belief system, indigenous and the big five, okay, which is, of course, Christianity, Judaism, Islam, and we're looking at Zoroastrianism and Hinduism, okay. Those are the big five, but there are others, of course. You get into the offsprings of each of those, and then you get into the Gnostic, which is, I guess you could say, the same thing for all the religions. They all have their own variations of that. And the occultic literature that I've read. I've owned many of these books. So, and I mean some of the things that are actually as dark as you can imagine. To try to understand the mindset and the way that they think and what their practices actually consist of and things of that nature. Mostly from a, for lack of a better way of putting, a scientific perspective, trying to gather as much information and knowledge as I can. I'm not scared to delve into anything, to look into it, and to understand, why it is what it is, or why they say that it is, whatever the case may be. Sometimes I see relationships in very strange places. I've looked at some of the ceremonies, for example, in Freemasonry, and those that are practiced, for example, in other secret societies like the Skull and Bones at Yale University, and I have found very significant, examples of actual rituals that are written in Anton LaVey's works, his second or third book, I think it was. Not his first, not the Satanic Bible, but he's written other books as well. And some of the rituals that are written in there I found exactly mimicked as those that are found in Skull and Bones. So yes, they are very, very dark practitioners. Regardless of what they say they believe or not, they are actually doing many of those same rituals. Same thing in the higher realms, and even lower realms for that matter, of things such as Freemasonry and so on. They may not be the wiser. They believe that they're eventually going to get the light that they seek, by the time they get to their highest degree, whatever that may be. Most of them never get beyond the first 3 degrees, or the Blue Lodge degrees. Most of them don't even know that there's another 30 degrees. And that's just in Scottish Rite Freemasonry. In terms of Egyptian, there's 100 degrees, thereabouts. So, anyway, long story short, there are connections to be made, dots to be connected, but you have to be diligent in your studies to see them and to see it as a whole. And again, this is the biggest wrong that I see in academia, is the left hand doesn't really speak to the right hand, so they're getting a very, very guarded and incomplete perspective on things in a lot of ways. And there's been many very, very intelligent people who have commented upon that, who are extremely highly, intelligent and gifted in academia as well. Commented on that. But that's a whole other issue. Alright, so again, the overall energy for the week is not changed, of course. It's the overall energy for the week, and it's Gibo, which is generally a good rune in the upright, but reversed, it isn't quite as positive. Okay, and we've been seeing that reflected in every daily read that we've done since this week, being the last day of the week. It talks about problems with the roots of a emotional manner or nature, greed, loneliness, dependency, over-sacrificing, obligations, toil, privation, and bribery. This is primarily what the karmics in our life, whoever that may actually be for you individually, are actually experiencing. They're really starting to feel it. Now again, people are at different places in this timeline. That's true. And I've stated this many times. Time is not linear like we generally believe it is. It's only the now, if you will. Only now is real. And there are millions, maybe billions of potentials from that point on, depending on your actions, thoughts, and deeds, if you will. But these things are happening, and if you're watching this, it's happening to some degree in your life. Now, the past energy we got for this particular day happens to be Radho. Now, Radho ordinarily looks like the letter R, very sharp lines, as most of these runes do have, because they carved them, generally speaking. So they all look this way, instead of being rounded off. And this, unfortunately, is also in the reverse. So what we see here is the potentiality of a death. It's unfortunate. Radho is generally looked at as the rune for the great journey, if you will, both in physical terms and shamanic terms, journeying in the spirit, so to speak. But in the reverse, it refers to upsets of plans, unexpected traveling, feeling lost or in a crisis of some type, a sense of rigidity and stasis, feeling locked, in your situation, a sense of injustice, irrationality setting in, disruptions and dislocations. Now again, this is not just reflective of the karmic situation. Many in the collective may be experiencing this right now. Remember, we are literally going through it before we get to the end of that tunnel, so to speak, or the light at the end of the tunnel. That means some of these more negative aspects could actually be being experienced by many of you out there. I myself am going through quite a bit too, so I understand this, okay? It's not just the negative stuff that is tied specifically to the karmics alone. We are also going through it to some degree. It's not all peaches and cream for us either. So delusions or being delusional is also part of what's going on by this energy for the past. Maybe even being demoted, in your job, even fired for that matter. Okay. Now, again, we also see that in this particular case, it could mean that you're going to experience more death than is normal in your life, and that could be somebody that's close to you. It doesn't necessarily just have to be those within the karmic realm, but definitely somebody within the karmic side of the situation is unfortunately probably going to end up expiring. And beyond that, I don't want to clarify any further than that. I just want to prepare you, especially if it turns out to be that was somebody that was very close to you. And from what I can see in all these readings, that seems to be the case. Whether it was an ex-lover, friend, acquaintance, or something, or, a sibling, somebody that's been doing the most, they're unfortunately going to end up expiring. So that's what the past energy was. Now, as far as past again is going to differ from everyone out there. The past may still be in your future. I know that's a little confusing because this is general reading and everything else. It's non-specific to anyone specifically. This is to the collective as a whole. So when you're watching it, it's basically for you, and it's warning you that at some point you're going to see this. But this is an energy of the past. It's already been decided. It's already been written in the stars, by the Norns, by the fates, if you will. It's going to happen. Okay? So this is why I need to prepare you. Beyond that, I can't say if it's going to happen in 5 minutes, 5 days, or maybe even 5 years, depending on when you see this. Okay? Now, our present energy, we've gotten this one many times over the week, is Degaz. Now, Degaz, in this case, is in the upright, okay? It's one of the 9 that looks exactly the same, upright or reversed. But as I've already said many times, it's based on me throwing a lot and listening to my gut instincts at the same time. And 9 out of 10 times, it comes out exactly the way I feel it. And this one is positive. Now, that means hopefully that the week coming is also going to be more positive. What it means is clarity. So a sense of clarity is starting to emerge in your life, and hopefully in the karmics as well. Remember, this is for both sides today, whereas yesterday's reading was all about the karmic. All right, this talks about ambition, breakthroughs perhaps coming your way, a sense of growth, cosmic consciousness, becoming more self-aware and aware of things greater than our own, if you will, physical life here. Awakening, in other words, awareness, very powerful. And I hope you are all practicing some form of reflection or meditation. Most of you are. You're spiritual, I presume, or you wouldn't be here. This is also a good time to plan or embark on a new venture of some kind, whether it's something that you've been beating around, maybe starting your own website, starting some type of entrepreneurial aspect of your life. We're not all wired that way. I've never been wired in that particular mindset of doing something simply for the sake of making money. I've always been more or less trying to help others grow in some way. And that's why I've always ended up being a teacher somewhere, no matter where I'm at, no matter what it is I'm doing. Everything from security work to military work to freaking, construction work, whatever it is, I've always become a teacher in it. And it's not because I love being out in front of the public. I don't. But I'm more of an introvert. God is telling me otherwise. So, yeah. Alright, so it also talks about, security and certainty of growth, hope, happiness, reliance, a balance point. And that's exactly what it looks like when you look at it. You got two very similar geometric shapes that converge in the middle, if you will. So coming together, are meeting in the middle. Now, magically, it's used basically for opening and closing ceremonies, as I've stated previously throughout the week, and for embarking with any new creative endeavor. Okay, and that's why they say that it's a good time to start on some kind of entrepreneurial, perspective or job, whatever the case may be. Okay. Now its number is 23, which comes out to the number 5 numerically. Number 5 is about order of time and space. The Germanic ancient week was that of 5 nights long. And it's also the amount of time that basically one was given to respond to some type of legal summons back in the day. Okay. Beyond that, there's not a lot to go on. All right. Now, in terms of our challenges and our obstacles, we got Verkana. Verkana is in the reverse, although in here it looks like it's upright. Okay, I'm reversing it. There you go. So it's their letter B in their alphabet, as you might have imagined. Most of them don't look like the English numerical or alphabet, if you will. They look quite different, but R as in Rado and B as in Verkana, they do look very similar to our English variant of the same letter, R and B. So Verkana in the reverse talks about, well, first off, it represents the birch tree, and which they reverence. They were they're indigenous believers, pagans, so they believe in nature very explicitly, like any indigenous spiritual endeavor, whether it's Aboriginal or whether it's actually Native American or Indian, whatever the case may be. And by Indian, I refer to the Indians also of Central and South America, okay, before the Spanish came in. Alright, so Birch God is the name of the great birch goddess, or the great mother. But in the reverse, what it reflects is family problems, family needs, anxiety over somebody in your family. So this could be revealing who the possible karmic is in this case. Not necessarily, but it could be honing in for at least some of us out there who it is that has been up to all of this mischief all this time. So it also talks about domestic troubles. So again, it could be somebody that's very close to you. Maybe it's not your blood family, but your chosen family, your spouse. It talks about worry, or it could be a child, for example, too. Worry over someone else close to you, carelessness, abandon, a loss of control, blurring of consciousness, deception yet again, sterility for some of you, and if that's the case, I'm sorry to hear that, but you do have options in regards to that if a child is something that you truly want. And feeling a sense of stagnation yet again. So, and again, this reflects both from the karmic, and I'm feeling it too, for the non-karmic aspect or the collective. So if this is the way you're feeling right now, we have options, okay? And I hate hearing some of the readers tell me who I'm supposed to be with, what I'm supposed to be thinking and feeling, presumably at this time. So I'm not going to tell you how to respond. I leave that to your own intuition and so on, okay? Now in magic, it's used for fertility rites and issues. So call upon Brahmana, if you are having problems manifesting a child, and that is your wish, and any other creative endeavor for that matter. Okay. Now, as far as our help and advice goes, we have Manas. Now, Manas is the letter M in their alphabet, and it does look like a letter M. Okay. It's also number 20, which reduces down to number 2 in numerology, and again, it's the rune of creation. It's of the redoubled working of tandem forces. Operative work, it is sometimes to strengthen, especially physically, something. In mythological lore, it shows the power of teamwork between complementary pairs. Two horses working together. They have to have the same stride or stride equally, or things are going to be very difficult. Or the rider and the horse are going to have a difficult time, so to speak. But it also talks about the two pairs that we see reflected over and over, especially in Norse mythology, between Odin's ravens, Hugin and Munin, Odin's wolves, Geri and Friki. We see Arvker and and I might be slaying this. It's hard for me. I've never had proper, learning of runic speech. I can write in runic, but I can't specifically speak properly that way. I plan on being able to do that at some point. It also talks about the divine tandem between Odin and Loki, the trickster spirit. So the word, or the number 2, is found oftentimes in Norse mythology. It talks about working in pairs to get the job done, to help in some way, to manifest something specifically, even if it's just information. Now, basically, the overall outcome for this week is Nauthis. Nauthis looks like a cross with the cross beam slightly canted. And this is the letter N in their alphabet. Doesn't look anything like an N. And most of them don't look like the letter that they are actually representing. It's the number 10, which reduces down to the number 1 in Norse numerology, which is the number of beginnings, again, and root causes. Solidarity of force, and beyond that, there's not much to go on. But what it means in the upright, as far as the overall future, and again, that's positive. So for our present energy as well as our outcome, they're both in the upright. It talks about having a need of patience, being able to see the omens, hopefully and understanding what they represent. Also that obstacles are part of life. They do come in our life to present ways of learning, okay? So basically, it talks about resistance that leads us to a sense of future strength. That's what all of these delays, necessities, stresses are all about, okay? But it also talks about the power of the will to overcome these burdens. So all of those are found within the magic and the power of Nalthis. Now in magic, it's used to empower or amplify other runes. It's the rune of pure will, so to speak, willing yourself through a situation. And focus on the rune in a reading around the following runes. So in this particular case, it was the last one I drew, which is the one for the future and the outcome. So the only one that was close to it at that point was the overall weekly one, unfortunately, which is the opposite, which is Gibo. But this is the last day for that being overall energy, unless it happens again, which we'll know tomorrow for sure. So the overall gist of this tells us, one, that there are conflicts happening on both sides, both for the karmic and for the collective. For the collective, it's a opportunity for us to learn and to grow from. For the karmic, they are still putting the blame of everything that's happening to them upon you and I. Okay, they are not at a mature enough or highly vibrating enough level for them to take responsibility for their actions, their decisions. So, unfortunately, you are the scapegoat in this. I am the scapegoat in this. Okay, but again, you are a higher resonating being, so just look at it for the way it is. That they are just, still growing in the spiritual journey. And it may take them many lives before they get to a point of being able to understand these things. Hopefully in this lifetime, but the way things have been coming out for months straight now, that doesn't look likely, unfortunately. They still are not making the right decisions. So I hope this edifies and helps somebody out there. Okay, it helps me to see more clearly what's going on, and even to have a little bit more empathy for them, even though they still got their little voodoo doll and they're still putting their pins in there and they want me dead and all that kind of stuff. It's not going to happen. So, but I wish them, no further pain than what is necessary to wake them up. And I hope for the collective that you are also increased in strength and your will to get through whatever obstacles are showing up before you. And if you need to talk, if you want to, discuss any of these things, I am available. So just you can email me, text me, whatever the case may be, and I'll respond as soon as I get it, okay? So in the meantime, I wish everybody out there victory, and in the very, very far future, I will see you all in Valhalla. Okay? Take care.